Marvel did a great job with phases 1, 2, and 3. The pace ramped up slowly, with 6 movies spread out over 5 years, then 6 movies in 3 years, almost double the pace. There seemed to be hesitation before moving forward. In my last video, I compared it to testing the waters or asking the audience for permission. Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man? Well received. Tony Stark having a cameo at the end of The Incredible Hulk, a character who, due to distribution rights issues, cannot be used in standalone films by Marvel Studios. Yet there was Iron Man himself in another studio's movie? Thumbs up from viewers. Going to 2 movies a year? Audiences said, bring it on! Marvel Studios had the confidence to go to the next level. 3 movies a year? 11 films in 4 years? With every film contributing in some way to the larger narrative of the Infinity Saga. Some characters could stand on their own and have adventures that were not so directly linked to Thanos and his quest to snap away half of all life in the universe. Iron Man 2, relatively disconnected, but that might have been the last film like that, aside from Mjolnir being teased in the credits. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, disconnected on the surface, but S.H.I.E.L.D. being infected by Hydra and then falling as an organization was the reason Strucker got his hands on Loki's scepter, aka the Mind Stone, and was able to experiment on the Maximoff twins, creating Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, again in the credits, ultimately leading to the creation of Ultron. Thor Ragnarok, seemingly unrelated to Thanos on the whole, but with Odin gone and Asgard destroyed, there was one less powerful obstacle in Thanos' way. Plus, the Tesseract was there, so Thanos was coming for it anyway. Yet, those are the big 3 players in the Avengers. The other founding members, aside from the Hulk, who had rights issues, as I mentioned, were Hawkeye and Black Widow, and they were established in films featuring the big 3. The next new character to get a solo film was Ant-Man, but his 2 films were needed to A, set up Pym particles, and B, bring in the quantum realm, both of which could, C, lead into time travel that we see in Avengers Endgame. In Doctor Strange, we saw the Time Stone, so his film served the greater narrative. Black Panther further established vibranium, which has a cosmic origin. Captain Marvel also emphasized the cosmic side of the MCU and put a power hitter on the board for Endgame. Spider-Man Homecoming shows the aftermath of the attack on New York and gives audiences a good look at the new incarnation of this character. But hey, it's Spider-Man. He's had 2 relatively recent film series and a lot of animated series going back half a century. When his solo movie in the MCU came out, Peter Parker can stand alone if he wants to. Yet, if we look in hindsight, we can find things in all of the films that support the Infinity Saga or hint at something to come next. But what is to come next from now? Well, by the end of Endgame, there seems to be a front runner. If you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to get there. When the first Avengers Team movie came out, Marvel already knew that the big threat would eventually be Thanos. His reveal at the end of that film got fans in the know very excited. Social media was abuzz with people starting to speculate and postulate and salivate. The Tesseract was at first thought to be a cosmic cube, but with Thanos in play, theories soon shifted to Infinity Stones. Each movie dropped more pieces of the puzzle, and as viewers became more educated about the lore, they also became more invested in seeing what each film had to offer besides its inherent entertainment value. Now that the Infinity Saga had concluded, and some favorites left the MCU, namely Steve and Tony. What would bring people back to see more? Remember, the pandemic was just about to hit, something no one anticipated, and that put a damper on a lot of things, film releases included. But what had been established in the MCU so far that could play into the next greater narrative? My initial thoughts were the Celestials. There were references to the Celestials in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, where we saw one full-sized, wielding the Power Stone to destroy a world. We also went into the head of a dead Celestial in that film, and again in Infinity War. Nowhere. In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Peter Quill's father, Ego, claimed to be a Celestial, and if he wasn't lying, we could see how dangerous they were on a galactic level. Even if Ego was lying, or mistaken, the cosmic side of the MCU and the cosmic level threats were well established by this time. Thanos was one, after all. The Guardians are on the cosmic side of the MCU. Captain Marvel is on the cosmic side of the MCU. Thor is on the cosmic side of the MCU, and traveling with the Guardians as of the end of Endgame. Hulk was on another planet for several years. The vibranium meteor that landed in what would become Wakanda? Cosmic. The Infinity Stones themselves and the effects they had on Carol Danvers and Wanda Maximoff were two cosmic items creating two powerful heroes. What happened to Xandar after Thanos eliminated half of the population when he was getting the Power Stone? What have the Skrulls been up to between Captain Marvel and Far From Home? Why is Nick Fury in space? All of these seeds that were planted in the first three phases seem likely to grow into cosmic plot lines and bear cosmic fruit. A big threat on a Thanos level? The Celestials. However, there was other talk on social media as well, talk of the multiverse. However, again, what seeds were planted? In my view, none, or barely one. We saw the mirror dimension and the dark dimension in Doctor Strange. These are different dimensions, not alternate Earths or part of a multiverse. We saw the quantum realm in the Ant-Man films. This is a subatomic part of our universe, and while it has many weird and undefined properties, it can't really be seen as part of a multiverse. In Endgame, the Ancient One and Banner talked about branching timelines, so this might have a multiversal connection. But in context, it was more about how time travel couldn't change your own past. And in Far From Home, Mysterio claimed to be from an alternate Earth, but he was lying. I looked at Mysterio's claims as Marvel testing the waters for potential storylines in the future, not as a setup for anything coming soon. In my view, the cosmic side of the MCU had a foundation ripe for development. Let's look at the films of Phase 4 and Phase 5 to see how Marvel failed to bring in audiences who had already had their catharsis after 23 films. It would be best to reset, go slow, build investment, like they did in Phases 1 and 2. Phase 4, Black Widow, 2021. This was set before the events of Infinity War, when Natasha was on the run. There's no real tie-in to future films in the sense of setting up a bigger story, because that story has already been told. It introduces a new Black Widow, her sister, Red Guardian, and Taskmaster. There's nothing cosmic, nothing multiversal. The release of this film was compromised due to the pandemic, so it is basically a farewell to Natasha, making her sacrifice in Endgame more poignant. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, 2021. This is the first film setting up a new Marvel character post-Endgame. Can we find hints about the future here? It brought in over $432 million during the pandemic, lowish for Marvel, but not bad for a new character when theaters were not fully open. We have another dimension, where monsters come from, but it's not an alternate reality. We have powerful artifacts, the Ten Rings, which are ancient and can prolong one's life. A mid-credit scene shows Shang-Chi, Banner, Captain Marvel, and Wong, science, cosmic, magic, together, analyzing the Ten Rings and finding that they are acting as a beacon to something. This sounds more cosmic, not multiversal at all. Sadly, it has not been followed up on at all either. Now I am fully thinking celestials. Ancient artifact, powerful, sending a signal off Earth. The original canon has celestials being very old, very powerful, visiting worlds and seeding life or experimenting on life, returning at various intervals to check on these experiments and destroying what doesn't please them. They took basic proto-humans and spun off the Eternals and the Deviants, along with implanting potential for mutation with an X gene. With 2 snaps happening on Earth, massive releases of power. The Celestials would certainly be interested in checking things out, especially if half of them had snapped away and blipped back. Maybe they would see Earth as a threat? Eternals, 2021. This is cosmic as well. It formally introduces the Celestials as characters, as well as the Eternals and the Deviants. These Celestials have aspects of a newer comic book canon, one which I don't like, but nonetheless, this seems to be setting up having Celestials return to Earth to judge its inhabitants' worthiness. This is, in fact, how the film ends. In the mid-credits, we see some of the team in space, where they meet another Eternal claiming to be Thanos' brother, confusing the issues of the origin of the Eternals and Thanos that we have been led to believe. Poor writing? It has not been followed up on since, so who knows if it will ever mean anything. The end credit scene hints at Blade and the Black Knight, with another old artifact, the Ebony Blade, being revealed. The mid and end credit scenes serve only to suggest future films, not add to a clear, greater narrative. Even so, the threat of Celestials coming to Earth in judgment is on the table. This film massively underperformed. Of course, it was also during the pandemic, but the opinions of critics and audience members alike were largely negative. No audience investment has happened here. Now we have 2 films suggesting a cosmic greater narrative. Spider-Man No Way Home 2021. Suddenly the multiverse is real? Doctor Strange botches a spell, allowing alternate versions of Spider-Man and some of their foes to come to the main MCU Earth. A great film. But how does this tie in to what the previous films in this phase were setting up? Plus, Mysterio was lying about being from an alternate reality, but I guess he was right anyway? Now we have 2 films with cosmic leanings, and one with the multiverse as its core. By the way, Black Widow's release was compromised, so it didn't hit theaters when it was supposed to, and was mainly offered on streaming via Disney+. Not including it, we still had 3 films in 1 year. Marvel didn't slow down in Phase 4. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 2022. Marvel is leaning hard into the multiverse concept now. We visit a lot of alternate Earths and see different versions of some familiar characters. We learn that the main MCU is Earth 616. That's what Mysterio said. Was Mysterio lying? How did he get the number right? What? In a mid-credit scene, a sorceress visits Doctor Strange and needs his help with an incursion, a multiversal crisis that is briefly shown when our Doctor Strange visits the alternate Earth of Strange Supreme. No follow-up to this as of yet. What was the point of setting up cosmic things in Shang-Chi and Eternals? Are the Celestials coming back to judge the Earth, as was warned in Eternals? I don't get where Marvel wants to go. It is now 2 films hinting at cosmic threats and 2 films firmly establishing a multiverse. Thor, Love and Thunder, 2022. Thor visits other gods from various worlds and theologies. These are not alternate Earths, but seem to be other planets and part of our universe. We see the Living Tribunal, cosmic, maybe the second most powerful entity in Marvel, which hints at cosmic themes, celestials, and so on. Nothing about the multiverse in this movie at all. A mid-credit scene threatened Hercules. The end credit scene shows Valhalla. Nothing multiversal. This film sets up a Thor versus Hercules film, but nothing else. At the start, Thor left the Guardians right away after losing some weight, so his joining them ultimately meant nothing. Cosmic 3, Multiversal 2. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, 2022. There is nothing multiversal here. There are other sources of vibranium, one of which the Atlanteans use, which means there might have been more than one meteor. What is the origin of vibranium? Vibranium grants special abilities to people exposed to it in the right ways. This is similar to how the Infinity Stones could alter human physiology, granting superhuman abilities. Namor is a mutant, full stop. This seems to be due to vibranium-infused plant life affecting him in utero. Was he mutated? Or was something activated that was present on a genetic level? Like, I don't know, an X gene? Part of a celestial experiment? There is no cosmic connection aside from vibranium, and nothing multiversal at all, but vibranium gives Cosmic a narrow edge. Cosmic 4, Multiversal 2. That is 3 films in 1 year again. Marvel has not slowed down at all. Each film did well at the box office. However, while the second Doctor Strange adventure brought in more money than the first, Thor's 4th film saw a drop from the third, and the second Black Panther offering was substantially less successful than the first. We had seen Doctor Strange in No Way Home, so that might have helped boost audience interest and investment. It seems, though, that without a greater narrative propping them up, Thor and a Chadwick Boseman-less Black Panther film couldn't fill seats. Not counting Black Widow, we are 6 films into this new MCU. By this point in Phase 1, we had already seen Thanos. Where is our great threat? Incursions are faceless, but the Celestials have been seen once. That excitement, that feeling of being part of something unfolding before our eyes, that event atmosphere surrounding each new entry in the MCU, all gone now. Of course it is. It ended with Endgame. Marvel did their job very well, and now it is time to reset, but they haven't. They are just plowing along, releasing 3 films a year with no reason for audiences to be invested other than a love of the characters, which some characters have and some don't, and the reputation of Marvel? They're banking on blind loyalty instead of good long-term storytelling. Phase 5, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania 2023. We officially meet Kang. Kang has some credibility as a major threat, but he is a time traveler from the distant future, and while there are various versions of Kang, and he might fit in with something multiversal, what is his goal? How was he hinted at before this? Not everyone watches Marvel shows on Disney+, so Loki doesn't count. A film should not require homework like that. A mid-credit scene shows us lots of Kangs having a huge conference for some reason. All from alternate timelines, alternate Earths? Are they planning to attack the main MCU? This is the first time filmgoers are meeting this character. This is far from the enigmatic entrance of Thanos at the end of the first Avengers movie. It is just confusing with no context behind it. The end credit scene refers to the second season of the Loki streaming series and deals with Kang again. Marvel is relying too heavily on Disney Plus to carry the load for writers. Multiversal, I suppose, if you know who Kang is from Disney Plus, but the quantum realm is not an alternate reality. It is a subatomic part of the main MCU universe that might serve as a gateway for time travel. This film was very poorly received, earning less than its predecessor. Ant-Man, without a connection to the Infinity Saga to prop up interest, can't fill seats. There is no audience investment here. My rewrite. Ant-Man's first film was his adventure and introduced him to viewers. His second film expanded his powers and the corner of Marvel he occupies. but it was also to serve the greater narrative. The third film had nothing to do with Ant-Man per se. It was only to move pieces on the board for a multiversal storyline. It could have been almost any hero, and Kang could have been trapped in the normal-sized universe without his tech, looking for a way to get back to his time. No time variant duplication needed. It didn't have to be Ant-Man. It didn't have to be the quantum realm. If they were dead set on using Ant-Man, they should have made it about him, and not only serving a greater narrative. Make audiences care about him and the people he loves first. A better storyline would have seen Scott and his family rescuing his daughter after the laboratory accident pulled her into the quantum realm, with a Kang tease at the end, like showing Thanos' face at the end of the first Avengers film. Just Kang in the shadows, now knowing a way to get out of the quantum realm, maybe picking up a discarded Pym particle disk. We could learn more about Kang in later films in the phase, learn how he was from the future, learn how he got trapped. Let him be a mystery for now, so social media could start speculating. Well, now we have our main villain. While this film itself is not multiversal, I suppose all of those Kangs are. Cosmic 4, Multiversal 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, 2023. This is cosmic again, because the Guardians are cosmic heroes. Nothing multiversal here at all. However, the threat is not cosmic, it is personal. This is Rocket's story. If anything, this is related to experimentation on life forms, which is what the Celestials do in the comics. It is basically a send-off for the Guardians of the Galaxy members, not setting up anything or laying groundwork for a greater narrative. This was, by the way, the highest-grossing film in the Guardians series. These characters have the love of viewers and audience investment. They can stand alone. Cosmic 5, Multiversal 3. The Marvels, 2023. This is cosmic. The story is space-related. The threat is planetary, galactic, and comes from our universe. This film introduces 2 Disney Plus characters to filmgoers, Kamala from Ms. Marvel and Monica from WandaVision. Kamala is a mutant, but she also manipulates a bangle of cosmic origin. A second bangle is introduced in this film. Monica got her abilities after being altered by Wanda Maximoff's barrier, which, while magic comes into play in some fashion, stems from her powers, which were activated by the Mind Stone. Cosmic upon cosmic, slathered in cosmic sauce, and of course, there is Captain Marvel, the cosmic cherry on top. These bangles are ancient, from space, and hint at alien technology, like Shang-Chi's 10 rings. As with the Infinity Stones and Vibranium, these bangles seem to awaken or grant abilities in humans, but not the Kree or other alien races apparently. Do humans have some special gene? Maybe an X gene? But then, the bangles were used to rip a hole in reality and send Monica to an alternate Earth, one with mutants and a different version of Captain Marvel, as seen in the mid-credits scene. This one has me confused. Is it cosmic or multiversal? The multiversal part is only due to the last few minutes of the film and a mid-credit scene. It is like they tacked that ending on to link it to a multiversal storyline without doing any work to set things up. That makes 3 films in 1 year again. Still no definitive threat. Still no villain building towards some plot. There is really no reason to see every MCU film when it comes out now. This is not good long-term storytelling. It is a disjointed mess. It is impossible to see how the films are connected to each other and to something greater, and the tacked-on end credit scenes aren't enough. Cosmic 6, Multiversal 3, or 3.5. Deadpool and Wolverine, 2024. I will not get into details except to say that this film is decidedly multiversal. This was the only film released in 2024 Marvel finally slowed down. Cosmic 6, Multiversal 4, or 4.5. Only 2 films in Phase 5 are scheduled to come out in 2025. Captain America Brave New World will, according to the trailers, deal with the giant body of a dead celestial that is sitting in the ocean, going all the way back to Eternals. We don't know the full plot yet, but this seems definitely cosmic, even if the characters don't go into space. Cosmic 7, Multiversal 4, or 4.5. Then we have Thunderbolts, asterisk. The team seems very grounded, mostly spies, assassins, and super soldiers. Definitely not cosmic sounding, but not multiversal either. This film will apparently introduce the Sentinel, who is not multiversal, but at his power level could be considered cosmic. That being said, we don't know what the plot entails, so who knows at this point? I think the tally stands at Cosmic 7, Multiversal 4, or 4.5. Now, for a little digression. Phase 6 has already been announced, and it will be mostly multiversal. It hasn't been set up very well, but Marvel has slowed down considerably, done a lot of course correction, and appealed to fans by bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, and the Russo brothers to direct the 2 Avengers films he will appear in. I suspect Doom will have a cameo in the Fantastic Four film that is planned, or maybe a scene in the end credits. The Fantastic Four film, by the way, will include Galactus and the Silver Surfer, definitely cosmic. In a way, it is like they want to deal with the multiversal aspect in one big burst, establish it properly, and move on from it. Digression over. After the 10th film in phases 1 through 3, Marvel announced Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. People had seen Thanos, people were keeping track of Infinity Stones and speculating about where they could be, and people were coming out to each film to be part of the greater narrative that Marvel was telling. There was a clear idea of what needed to be set up, and films that came out after that announcement worked hard to tell their own stories while leading events towards a big Thanos confrontation. Every film served a purpose. We are 10 films into phases 4 and 5, and nothing compelling or clear has been set up at all. Have we met our big bad? Kang was dropped due to scandals regarding Jonathan Majors, but now Doom will be the main villain, played by Robert Downey Jr. There is no sense of anticipation, no need to keep watching. What little story building we have seen means nothing. Yet, Marvel has slowed the pace down, taken to heart complaints and criticisms, and made efforts to course correct. Some of the films did really well. Shang-Chi, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's not a total failure for Marvel. The real failure lies in not establishing early on what the bigger picture was, not making sure the groundwork was set, not leading everything towards a common goal, not making us care about new and returning characters so we want to come back. I don't know where Marvel is going. I have no idea what Doom's goal is. I've been a comic reader and a fan for a very long time, and I know the potential plot lines available to Marvel Studios. Building on things established in the first 3 phases and hinted at in the first films of Phase 4, namely Celestials, made a lot of sense to me. There was groundwork there. The seeds had been germinating and were ready to sprout. Shifting to a multiversal plotline felt like a sudden decision, and divorced this new set of phases from the first 3. In a nutshell, Marvel didn't do what worked for the Infinity Saga. The results of this lack of clear direction can be seen at the box office. If you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to get there. Marvel didn't know where they were going, or they suddenly changed their mind about where they were going. Maybe they know now, and it will be a smoother, more satisfying ride from here on out. Fingers crossed. Thanks for watching. See you next time.